everyone. Welcome back to our Golden 20s podcast. My name is Sadie, and I'm joined by my co-host Tegan.
Hi.
And we are chatting all about DIY projects today. It is obviously spring, summer, I feel is like prime DIY project time if you're doing things outside, around your house, or even just, I don't know, just trying to find new hobbies and DIYing projects inside on a spring rainy day. So we're just going to chat through some DIY projects we've done before, as well as what we suggest you have in like a DIY kit if you're wanting to get into DIY projects. I hope nobody was counting how many times I just said the word DIY and how many times I probably will throughout this entire episode. But anyways, that is what we were talking about today. But before we jump into it, we are going to kick things off with a connection card.
Yeah. So we are into the green category, which means it's time to get a little deeper. And this is a deck we got sent from Happy Tears, in case anyone is curious which like connection card deck we're using. Okay. Oh, this could be really cute. Who is your ride or die? Do they know it? I feel like I'm lucky to have a lot of ride or dies. I feel like Sadie, you are one. So
Thanks,
hopefully you
Tech.
know it now that I said it. I also feel like my husband's my ride or die. I do like my parents are probably my ride or dies. Yeah.
Yeah, same. Tegan's husband, her parents.
Yeah.
My ride or dies too. No. Yeah. This is a very cute question, and I feel like that checks out for you. And I feel the same, where I feel very lucky to have so many, like, supportive people who genuinely care about, like, me and my well-being and, you know, or, like, my ride or dies. My number one answer would be my sister, Alex. I text her all day, every day. Literally any thought that pops in my head, anything I tell her. She knows me probably better than I know myself, and vice versa. So she's probably my number one answer, but I agree. Tegan's probably up there. Number 2, number 3 spot. One of my other best friends is up there. And my parents as well. I'm very lucky to have a close relationship with my parents.
Nice. I love it. Great. Well, we can dive into our DIY spectacular episode.
Yes. Yes. Okay, cool. Well, I thought maybe a great place to start is to talk about why you should even do a DIY project, because I feel like we talk so much about having hobbies as an adult, or we talk about mental health and, you know, all these other seemingly unrelated topics on the podcast, but I feel like doing a DIY project is actually kind of related to those things. So maybe we could start there. I think the first thing that came to mind for me is how doing a DIY project, I feel like, really gets you off your phone. And again, going back to the whole idea of like having hobbies as an adult, or, you know, having things to do outside of work that aren't dependent on your screens and gets you disconnected from technology. I feel like picking up some sort of project, if it's, you know, like a arts and crafts project, if it's you're building furniture, or you're just like doing random things and home projects around your apartment, if it's DIY like body scrubs and soaps, like literally this could be anything, but I feel like it's just something to do in your free time and gives you that sense of or that feeling of being productive, because I think that's another thing we've talked about on the podcast is having a hard time resting, but I feel like a DIY project could be a form of like productive rest and still be recharging, and that could also help your stress and anxiety as well, where your hands are busy and maybe your mind is busy, but you're thinking about what you're doing and not everything else.
Yeah, I think the biggest motivator for me when I'm DIYing anything is it saves you money. So 9 times out of 10, I'm doing the DIY because I looked up how much it would cost to get it new. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not going to spend that much. And then I figure out how to DIY it. And the same goes with like repairing. So a lot of my DIYs are like repairing things. And repairing oftentimes is cheaper than buying new. I also really love that it gives you the opportunity to make something perfect for what you want. A lot of times if you're shopping, it's hard to be like, okay, I want it to be this exact size. I'm thinking of furniture. I want it to be this exact size, but I can't get it in the color that I want. Then it's like, you know how you fix that? You make it yourself. So those are definitely some major motivation for me to be DIYing.
And you can make it personalized too, right? Like I feel
Yeah.
like not only is it perfect, but it's different from what everybody else has. And there's even things you can do with like IKEA furniture. So I
Mhm.
think of like the cabinet I have in my office is from IKEA, but there's so many now like IKEA hacks to
Yeah.
DIY it to make it more your style. And when somebody looks at it, it's not like, oh yeah, I have that from IKEA too. It's like just feels a little bit more unique and yeah, special to you. I think the last few things, just to keep it deep on my side of things, I
Mhm.
think on the mental health thing too, other things I wanted to mention was how doing something tangible with your hands and like if it's an arts and craft project or whatever really gives you a sense of accomplishment when that thing is done. And I feel like we've talked about this too in the sense of work and doing things on your computer. You can't actually really see when they're done. It's just like mentally you've checked it off the list. Whereas like a DIY
Mhm.
project, it's like when it's done, you can enjoy it. It's like something
Yeah.
tangible to give you that sense of accomplishment, which I think actually goes a really long way. And then lastly, also just teaching yourself new skills or learning new skills and boosting your creativity. I feel like these are like obvious things when it comes to a DIY project and things that it's like that's nerdy to be like I DIY to get new skills. But the older I get, the more I appreciate well-rounded people and I strive to
Mhm.
be a well-rounded person. And I feel like I don't know, when you're a creative person, creative thinker, you have problem solving skills, like all these little hobbies and things that you do for fun can really just shape the type of person you are in every area of your life. So
Yeah.
just wanted to call that out as well.
Yeah, and I feel like we're lucky to be both from very like handy families. And
Mm-hmm.
it just makes your life so much better and easier a lot of times. If it's like,
Yeah.
I can fix that, I know how to do that, I know how to build that. Whereas I know a lot of people now who were like, I have no idea how to do any of this. So it can really set you up for success as well. I'm still thinking of like saving money, but it's like you don't have to hire the TaskRabbit person to come hang up your photos or, I don't know, put your TV on the wall. If you learn these skills through DIY, you know how to do these things.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like when I think DIY projects, I had a DIY run when I was moving
Mm.
out into my college residence room or dorm room.
Yeah.
And man, that was the best. I wish I still had those things just for like nostalgic reasons. But exactly what you
Yeah.
were saying, Tag, where I didn't have much money because I was a high school student going into college. So I had now like
Hmm.
my college debt starting to rack up. I was coming from just like a part-time job out of high school. And I remember being like, but this is my first time moving out on my own. I want this space to feel like mine. I want
Yeah.
it's this box room that has absolutely no personality, but I want it to be me and like feel like me. So I made so many DIY projects that I found on Pinterest. I do also feel like this was the time of Pinterest like
Oh yeah.
discovery and like people, I don't know, I guess just yeah, the time of Pinterest starting. So
Yeah.
this is obviously the best place to like look for DIY projects and like link out to like blogs that have full instructions and everything. But anyways, I created some fabric covered bulletin boards, which were so cute because I had like obviously my little desk set up where I would do my homework,
Mm.
but I could just pin anything to them. And I had like colorful push pins that I would put on it. But the actual like fabric was just so me, like colorful and like I don't know, just the prints on it was so cute. And I had three different ones. Each of them had a different fabric covering them. And it was so easy. Again, coming from a crafty family, my mom had like bins of fabric and stuff. So I could use
Hmm.
that. But then it's like these little square bulletin board things were just from the dollar store. So super cheap. and easy to do. And then I also did like fabric covered cans. So literally like soup cans. And I
Mm.
still have one actually in my vanity. But again, I put this on my desk. I put my pens and my pencils in it. Now my makeup
Right.
brushes are in it. Like just so easy. I also did little photo plaques where it was like little tiny, not even little tiny. I don't even know. They were probably 5x7s or 4x6 size. And they were just like hunks of wood that I painted black. And then I printed pictures and Mod Podged the pictures to the wood. So it looked
Yeah.
like they were like plaques kind of thing. And I hung those. They were of my friends and family. So while I was like off living my life at college, I was like, oh yeah, just so cute. And then the last thing I did was, you guys have probably seen this, but it was a letter S for my name, obviously, and it was made out of cardboard. And then within the S, I put like fake flowers. Have you seen this?
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
it
yeah.
just turned into like a floral
Hmm.
letter. And then I hung that on my bedroom door, which it was just so me. I'm just such a florally girl where it was just like seeing that. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
felt like it was like people would see it and be like, oh, that must be Sadie's room.
Yeah.
So, anyways, all this to say, I feel like, yes, it can save you so much money. Also, just make things so homey and
Hmm.
personalized. Now I have like none of that stuff in my house. I have a lot of DIY projects that my family has made. So like
Right.
my dining table, my sister's boyfriend made for me. My bed frame, my dad made for me. Like my family's very handy where I feel like I
Hmm.
don't have to do these projects anymore because they
Yeah.
do it for me, which I'm very lucky, obviously. But I feel like now my DIY projects in my apartment just look like gallery walls or things like that, where it's like finding prints on Etsy and printing them, putting them in frames, putting those frames on shelves in my apartment, or like actually hanging it in fun gallery walls on the wall, finding things like random objects to add to that gallery wall, if it's mirrors, if it's
Hmm.
random wall hangings that are like crochet or fabric or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's what my DIY projects look like now, though.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yours are much more, I don't know, like I want to say creative, but I don't know that that's the right word. All of my DIY projects are very like construction based, I
Mm.
feel like. Like they're not, there's no fabric
They're
involved, there's no
like
flowers.
projects. I feel like mine are like
Yeah,
arts and crafts, and yours are maybe
maybe.
more like projects.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was never a big DIY person. It's because I'm terrible at crafts.
Mm.
So I was never like a crafty person until we moved into the house that I'm currently in and it needed a ton of repairs, but it was during COVID, so no contractors could come into the house. So my whole family just DIY'd my entire living experience currently, which is good. The things that I did specifically were I refinished all of the hardwood floors in the house, which is actually way easier than it seems. You just like you rent like the big sander and you go over it with all the different sandpapers and then you give it a little stain. Like anyone could do it. It just seems hard and it seems intense, but hardwood is actually very like resilient.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great. And it can make, you know, when houses have that like really dark orange flooring and it feels very like 80s retro, like you're visiting a grandma's house. A lot of that's just because the finish on the wood has turned that color through years and years and years. So that's the color our floors were. We sanded it up and then we just sealed it with a clear coat. So we've got our lovely little, I don't know, light colored wood. The only thing that you can't get out of hardwood is animal pee. So if you have
Mm.
cats, make sure they're not peeing on your hardwood because then you just have to tear it out. So luckily, our house just needed a good sanding. I also redid my childhood dining room table. So again, it was like that orange color. And so I just stripped it of its stain, gave it a good little sand, and then restained it a darker color. So Again, super, super easy. We did some more like restoration type things in the house. Like I restored the tiles in the bathroom and stuff, but those are the two that came to mind as far as like actually doing like a DIY project.
Yeah. I'm laughing because maybe I'm making this up, but please tell me if I'm not. When I was younger and I'd go to birthday parties, I'd always gift the birthday girl like some sort of arts and crafts project. And I feel at one
Okay.
time you said something about it, like me giving you arts and crafts where you were like, you always give me like arts and crafts and just like you weren't into it or something.
Yeah.
Do you remember this? Or like
I don't,
remember
but
me
that
giving?
does track. I do remember getting like
Yeah,
you'd
like
get like activity boxes of like a
yeah,
bracelet making
exactly.
kit or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I feel like one time you said something and I was just like, okay,
She
Tegan's not
doesn't
an
like
arts
it.
and crafts person. And then just when you started that whole like talk
Rant
and
about
you're
it.
like,
Yeah.
I've never been a DIY person. I was like peeing my pants laughing, remembering this from years and years and years
Your
ago.
trauma of me rejecting your
I
gift
probably
when
ran home because the thing is,
crying. Yeah.
my mom was so artsy. And this
Yeah.
is another thing that I do know Tegan has mentioned, I feel like somewhat recently, but my mom had all these like little
Yeah.
things
The
around our house, and she still
cats and
does.
stuff.
Yeah. So on
Yeah.
like the corner of all of our door frames, maybe not all of the door frames, that seems a little excessive, but a lot of our door frames, she would put
Yeah.
little like people like hanging off the door frame, or there was one that was
Hmm.
like cats, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the one on my room, I actually can't remember what the one on my room was. I think it was just like three girls kind of, and then my sister collected teddy bears, my other sister
Mhm.
collected clowns. So she like personalized them to our
Yeah.
personalities and whatever. But she still has just all these little knickknacks that she made herself, and she would also do a lot of seasonal decor, like the past few years she's been doing like seasonal wreaths to hang on her door. But I remember
Mhm.
growing up, all of like our Halloween decor we would put on the porch, like my mom made and stuff. So all this to
Right.
say, I like, and then my dad is like general contractor and he like builds houses and does construction. So kind of makes sense that I come from a like DIY crafty family.
Yeah.
But that's probably why my mom was like, okay, why don't we just get your friends? Because I'm like a
Yeah.
little girl going to a birthday party. She's like, let's just get them a, yeah, arts and crafts kit.
Yeah.
Then take it to Tag. And she's like, what the hell is this? No.
Yeah. I'll have to ask my mom if she remembers. But yeah, my mom hates crafts. That's why. So we never did crafts at our house. Like I can remember we would like draw, but like there were no scissors involved. There were
That's
no
so
glue
funny.
involved.
Yeah. I
So, and
loved,
then it was actually quite problematic when we went to school because none of us could use scissors. And then all the
yeah.
schools were like, they have problems because they can't use their hands properly. And it was just because she refused to do crafts.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. You're unlocking so many things from my childhood right now that I didn't know I was going to have so much joy thinking about slash was even going to think about.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, we had this big drawing table. So it was probably the size of
Okay. Yeah,
like,
I'm
well,
remembering
maybe
this.
at my house. Are you remembering it?
I think, yeah.
Okay. I wanted to say it was like big, like my dining table, but I was a kid, so maybe it actually wasn't that big. But at one end was like a spot to put a roll of craft paper, and then you would roll it out over the table.
Okay.
And then I had
Yeah.
crayons that fit on your fingers, and then you would draw. And
Mhm.
oh my God, that's so great. And then I remember my older sister, she had like her, I wasn't allowed to use it because I was the annoying little sister, obviously,
Yeah.
who ruined everything and just wanted to use what her sisters had, but they wanted it to be their own. But she had like an art kit with the paints and the markers and, you know, the whole thing. But
Yeah.
where I shined was with those crayons that fit on my fingers.
That's so
I
funny.
guess
Yeah.
all this to say, yeah, my family was very arts and crafts. I didn't realize until right now, but
Yeah. I feel like I remember that table. And I remember I used Play-Doh for the first time at your house.
yeah.
And
My
yeah,
mom
I
used
was
to
like,
make
this is
her own
crazy.
Play-Doh.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That was good stuff. And then I had a peanut butter sandwich and it was crunchy peanut butter, which I didn't know existed. And then I remember I went to like home and was like, Mom, Dad, you need to hear about this. And they were like, yeah, we know about crunchy peanut butter. I thought you guys like discovered it. So that was an exciting day. Play-Doh and crunchy peanut
Your
butter.
mom, yeah, your mom was probably like, "You're not going over to Sadie's house anymore because you come home demanding crunchy peanut butter and you want to do arts and crafts, and we're not doing any of that."
Yeah.
That's
So good.
so funny.
I did want
love
to
that.
ask, is there a particular DIY that you haven't done that you want to?
No. And this is my problem now. As I get older, so I was going to say this when we were talking about saving money, okay? I
Mm-hmm.
feel like this is something I think about a lot in my life in many different ways. But I feel like as an adult, you're constantly doing a trade-off between time and money. It's either you're doing the DIY to save money or you're buying it
Yeah.
to save time. And then I think the same way about driving versus taking transit. You know, like you're saving money by taking transit, but it takes more time, or you're
Yeah.
spending more money but saving time by driving. So like I said, I think
Yeah.
about this all the time. And the older I get and the more money I make, I feel like DIYs are things that I would rather invest my money into than my time into. And I feel like that's why, like, even like the projects that my family has done for me, it like my dining table. I was ready to buy a dining table, and my sister and her boyfriend were like, Mike could probably make that for you for a little bit less. And I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
then let's do that. And then when I was going to
Yeah.
buy a bed frame, my dad's like, oh, I could probably make that for you. And I was like, okay, let's do that. But all this to say, I feel like as much as I was saying, I was growing up as a arts and crafts and DIY kid, and it's in my blood with my family, all that stuff. I feel like I'm not a patient person at all when it comes to this kind of stuff, where now that I have money to spend and I'm not that dorm room girl who needs to save money, I'm like, I would just rather buy it new or have somebody do it for me. So
Yeah.
all this to say, the one project that I really want to do, well, first of all, I've really wanted to paint in my apartment for a long time. And it's just like one wall in my dining room, one wall in my office, one wall in my bedroom, and it can all be the same color, get my use out of one can of paint. But I just haven't done it for whatever reason. I think I'm having commitment issues with the color and not being able to like actually envision it and then painting it and having a fear of like not liking it. But anyways, so I could do that, and I could do that myself. But the one big thing I want to do maybe this year is get my chairs in my living room recovered. What is that word? Reupholstered.
Reupholstered.
I've got them done once before. Again, I didn't do it, but I had somebody do it for me, and I love how they turned out, but I feel like I did that when I moved into my first ever apartment, and they feel kind of like kiddish to me, where I want them to be just part of my more like adult living on her own vibe. So that's the biggest project I want to do, but again, it's not, or like the most immediate one I want to do, but it's not going to be me doing it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. What about you? Is there a project you had in mind?
Not anything in particular. I do feel like I might enter an era as an adult of like doing crafty things, but it would be for like just the experience. Like I think I would take like a stained glass making class or like a candle making class or something.
Yeah.
So I could see that. I also think that wherever like Tyrell and I end up living permanently, he's quite into gardening, and I do feel like there's so much DIY like potentials around gardening, and the stakes are very low. So I could see myself making like a flower bed out of wood, because then it's like, if it sucks, like it's in the rain, it's no big deal, whatever. So I could kind of see something like that. But, yeah.
I feel like homeowners are the ones that take on the most DIY projects, probably because they're like, okay, I have a mortgage to pay. And you have to, nobody else is going to do it. But it's like, if you have a backyard, it's like the possibilities are endless with what you can do. And even if you have a garden, it's like, yes, creating like your actual gardening box, but like my mom, again, just being the artsy girl that she is, I guess, not even was, she's still this way, she would just have like cute things in her garden, you know. So it'd be like, I remember for Mother's Day one year, my grandma and I just found this huge ass rock and I painted it like a ladybug and my mom had it in her garden. But it's just like
Mhm.
little DIYs that
Yeah.
I feel come along with gardening as well. I don't know. But I
Yeah.
think the last DIY project I did was in 2019 or 2020. At the time, I was working for
Mm.
Home Depot. I think it was 2019. I was working for Home Depot in their head office, and I was like, okay, feeling inspired to unleash my DIYer because they're very
Right.
obviously DIY. And I will
Yeah.
also say Home Depot is a great place to go if you're looking to get into DIYs because like
Mm.
they will have people cut your wood for you. You can talk to
Yeah.
like the paint people, like you can rent tools like Tegan was saying for like sanding your floor or doing anything
Yeah.
around the house. Like they are meant to be in the stores like empower you to do your own DIY projects and give you and help you get the not give you but enable you to like rent the equipment to get it done. So anyways, shameless plug for Home Depot apparently. But anyways, at the time when I was working there, I was like, I need to do a DIY project. So I made like a giant Jenga
Mm.
game
Yeah.
and sounds easy and it was, but this was I'm pretty sure it was maybe 2020 because I feel like it was right when the price of lumber like started going up. So it
Ooh.
was actually
Yeah.
kind of more expensive than I thought it was going to be.
Right.
And then I also got like different stains. So I measured out the pieces of wood. My dad and I cut it. I sanded them down and then I stained them. I think I had 3 different color stains. Maybe I didn't even finish staining them. I don't know. But anyways, all this to say, doing it, I was like this, I always start being so excited about it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, this takes so long or this didn't
Yeah.
go smoothly and now I'm frustrated. So
Yeah.
that's been my last DIY project.
Yeah. I do also feel like there's a lot of DIYs in the wedding world.
Oh, yeah.
Like I didn't do that many, but like I learned calligraphy. That's kind of arts and craftsy.
Yeah.
Just writing. And I did like wax stamps and like I did have to cut a ribbon. So I did have to use scissors. So I know how to use them now. So, but that was kind of the extent. But I know loads of
Yeah.
girls do like all their wedding signs, all their like gifts for bachelorettes and stuff as DIY. So there is a lot of potential there as well.
Yeah. And again, you can just save so much money when you DIY it
Exactly.
yourself, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We
And then
did
you
a
can
lot of
sell it.
Yeah, exactly. We did a lot of DIYs for my sister's wedding. I say
Mhm.
we, but my job was really to come up with the ideas and delegate.
Yeah.
So I didn't do
Yeah.
too many of the DIYs, but
Yeah.
luckily my sister Alex is quite artsy and craft like artsy. I was going to say arts
Yeah.
and craftsy. So she like did some of the signs and,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah, I actually didn't even think about the wedding space for this episode. That's
Yeah.
definitely worth mentioning.
Because for me, I was like you, where I wasn't doing them myself, but I was
Yeah.
delegating. So
Yeah.
my dad and grandpa, we got married under like a wooden
Yeah.
arch. They made it, and then they were able to sell it for like $300 or something.
Yeah.
And I wanted like wood slabs on every
Mhm.
table as like the
For, like,
centerpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then they found a guy who was getting rid of a tree for free and cut all these slabs. And when I was looking, it was like $400 for like 20 slabs. So that was a steal.
Yeah. That's so crazy.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we can now talk about the DIY essentials, the things that we think you need to have on hand to be able to do a DIY, do a repair in a moment's notice. And a lot of these things I have in my own personal toolkit because living an adult life, things break all the time. And so a lot of these things are the things I feel like you need. And I did want to shout out IKEA because IKEA has a great beginner toolbox like section. So they have a picture hanging kit, which I love. It gives you all different nails, all different hooks, so that basically any size picture you can hang really easily, and then it all fits in this little flat box. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's such a good idea. And they also have like a little toolkit. And here in Canada, it's only $14, which
Yeah.
seems quite affordable to me. It comes with a hammer, a screwdriver, a wrench, and pliers. So it's
Hmm.
like the basics you would need. Like you want to hang up a picture, okay? You need to get your hammer out. Oh, you want to put together like your IKEA furniture, you can use the screwdriver. So I wanted to mention that. I feel like if you are just moving out for the first time, even into residence, go to IKEA and get their toolbox and the picture hanging kit.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start there. And then I feel like if you have those items and you feel like you're in a good place, the next sort of steps you could take would be a tape measure. Obviously, this is super helpful. I never feel cooler than when I'm walking into Home Depot and I have my tape measure and then I like clip it onto my jeans. Then I'm like, look
Oh
out,
yeah,
Home
that
Depot.
sounds pretty
She's
cool.
here. It's me and like all the old men. And I'm like, yeah, we better watch out. I got my tape measure. So obviously, that's good for measuring whatever it is. Even if it's like, I want to buy a new couch, measure to see if it
Yeah.
fits. That sort of vibe. Kind of the same wavelength. I think the next thing you could get is a level. This make sure that things are level. Again, it's good for hanging pictures. I don't hang pictures that often. I don't know why all of my suggestions are related to that, but again, it's good to have. Even things like our stove wasn't level. So then it made it hard to get things to like cook evenly. But it has like
Hmm.
little screws on the bottom that you adjust on its feet. And it's like, okay, you
Yeah.
put a level on top, super easy. And the last two things that I had were if you have all those and you're like, I'm ready to take it to the next level, a drill. I just got a drill. I'm very, very weak in the arms. So hammering and screwing can be quite difficult. So that's where the drill comes in. And then the next level, my personal favorite, is the sander. And this is
Hmm.
good for especially refinishing. I like a lot of vintage furniture, but it usually has like that nasty orange look to it. And sometimes it can even be like sticky or like smelly. Like a lot of times the furniture can, if they were in a house where you were smoking, that sort of vibe. But I find that if you use the sander, it gets rid of a lot of that, which is good. So that's
Yeah.
my long winded rant about all the things you should have in your toolbox.
I love that. I couldn't agree more on the picture hanging kit and
Mm-hmm.
the like beginner toolbox from IKEA. Like
Yeah.
you said, I think when you're moving out for the first time, those things come in clutch more than you could ever think they
Yeah.
would. So definitely good to have. I also have a tape measure, which also comes in clutch all the time. And it's
Yeah.
exactly like you were saying, it's not even for specific projects. It's more
Yeah.
so just to be like, can I fit this before I order it online? Or I want a
Yeah.
rug. What size rug should I get? Or, just
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally measuring everything. Sometimes it's also just like for like fun. I don't know, where I'm just like, wait, how I
You
don't know.
make
I
fun of
can't
me
think
for
of
wearing it clipped to my jeans. Meanwhile, you're using it
Um,
for fun.
yeah, I can't even think of a good example, but there's definitely been times where I'm just like, I'm just gonna measure this because I have to know the distance here. Yeah, we're losers. Apparently, this episode's really revealing that. But I don't have a level, a drill, or a sander. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was gonna actually say, if you have an iPhone, I know there's a level on your iPhone, so you
Yeah.
could try that too. And I've used that before. But yeah, a drill, I'm like, okay, if I
It
have a
seems so
drill,
scary.
yeah. And I'm also like, then no, I know my dad would still help me, but I'm like, if I have a drill, I couldn't be like, Dad,
Mm-hmm.
could you come and do this for me? And could you bring your
Yeah.
drill? He'd be like, no, you have a drill, just do it. But that's also not my
Yeah.
dad at all. He would gladly still help me. But I don't know. Yeah, it just feels too intense. But
Yeah.
again, I know there's get your Ryobi drills from Home Depot. They're made for like
Yeah.
the
IKEA
DIYers.
sells a
And
drill now too.
wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I think just to round out the list, more on like the arts and crafts side, again, I have like my little toolbox in my like utility closet, and then in my guest room closet, or in my office, I guess it is, I have just like a box of arts and crafts stuff that I, again, feel like you maybe don't need these things, but I've gone to these time and time again where I would definitely recommend having something like this on hand, especially post grad when you don't just have like your pencil case handy to
Mm-hmm.
whip out if you need some of these things. But I have just like markers, pens, pencil, crayons. These come in handy if I'm like, I don't know, making like even like a tag or like a card for a gift or something. Like I feel like these are just good things to have on hand. Same with a hot glue gun. The number of times, even just like something randomly breaks. Again, it's not even like
Mm-hmm.
a arts and crafts project or a DIY project that I'm doing, but something breaks and I hot glue it, gun it back together. I
Yeah.
also talked about my love for Mod Podge. If you're not sure what that is, it's like a glue that dries clear. So again, there's so many use cases for it. Otherwise, just regular glue and of course tape. And then having scissors, but I feel like if you are an arts and crafts person, having different types of scissors, like if you're into fabric, like having fabric scissors, having scissors that cut different shapes, if you're like into scrapbooking, things like that. Otherwise, just really good sharp scissors to get the job done. And then having different types of paper. This is maybe a weird one, but I love my paper stack. I'm a big stationery girl in general, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
like nice to have photo paper. So again, if I'm ever in the position of needing to print an image at home for whatever reason, I can do that. I also have cardstock, or I have different like colored paper or scrapbooking paper. Again, I never know when I'll need this, but I find myself reaching for it time and time again. And then on a more practical side, which I think this makes a lot more sense than those things I was just talking about for everybody to have, is just like gift wrapping supplies. And this could be for, literally any type of occasion, but primarily like birthdays and Christmas or the holidays that you celebrate. I always have like my wrapping paper tote fully stocked. I have boxes, I have bags, tissue paper, and then ribbon and tags. And these are just things, yeah, where you don't need to be like, okay, I have to get a gift. Oh, and I need to buy something to wrap the gift. You can just have that stuff to pull from as you need it.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like I don't have all of the items you listed. I've never used Mod Podge, but I do call my cat that because her name's Maud. So I call
Aw.
her Mod Podge. But I do, the thing that I use the most that I wouldn't think about is nice paper. I have like a stack of nice paper.
Yeah, right?
And it's like if you ever need to write like a card, or even like if you have people over for a dinner party, sometimes I'll write out the menu, or I'll write their
Mm-hmm.
place markers or whatever just on the piece of paper with like little torn edges. And it's like little
Yeah.
stuff like that where you don't think about it until it's like, oh, the guests are arriving in 5 minutes and I want to put out name tags. And having this stuff on hand is super helpful.
Yeah. 100%. Awesome. And then the last things I'm going to leave you guys with are just some of my favorite like DIY accounts to follow on YouTube and Instagram a little bit as well. There's obviously so many more that I'm going to mention, but my favorite to watch on YouTube is Alexandra Gator, and she's Toronto based, does a lot of rental DIYs. So it's very, I'll say she does have a guy who had like on her show that does a lot more project based, like construction based DIYs, like you were saying, Tag, where he's like building
Yeah.
coffee tables from scrap wood or completely
Right.
deconstructing IKEA furniture to make it something else. However, a lot of the things that she does are things you can do in a rental space and don't necessarily require all of those like big intense projects. So I absolutely love watching her on YouTube. For a while she was doing like a video a week and I was so into it, like every Saturday
Mm-hmm.
morning. But yeah, want to put that on your guys' radar. Also, Pretty in the Pines. She's much bigger on Pinterest and Instagram. However, I really like her YouTube videos as well. And now she lives in a house that she owns, so I haven't been watching as much. But when she was renting in New York, she made her Upper West Side apartment so beautiful in
Mm-hmm.
such like renter friendly ways that were so cost efficient that I was just obsessed with what she was able to do, I guess, in her rental. So also wanted to have you guys check her out. And then the last thing I'll mention is obviously apartment therapy. I feel like just watching home tours and seeing inside people's spaces, they obviously also have like DIY projects and project-based videos, but just seeing home tours and stuff like that, I get so inspired by other people's DIY projects or their storage solutions or whatever it is that it gets me excited to, yeah, try something new or do something in my own space. So if you're not already highly plugged into apartment therapy, I totally recommend. I get their emails, like I'm very into them.
Love that. Great. Well, I think that's where we'll leave it for this week. We put out a new episode every single Tuesday, so make sure you are following and subscribe to us so you see when those new episodes drop. And if you want the ads-free experience, definitely check out our Patreon, because not only do we drop the episodes early there, but they are ad-free. And there's a bunch of other fun stuff there. You can also follow us on social media. We're at our Golden 20s on pretty much all of the platforms. That's it for this week, so thanks for listening.
See you next Tuesday.
Bye.